Okay, for our main interview for tonight, we've got Lesley McKerral back. So thank you very much, Lesley. And you were the most recent that I've done over this year with the podcast. I've been revisiting people that have followed over the races. And so last year, you and I, we sort of shared our training each month, and we sort of met regularly. Sadly, I wasn't able to finish, but you kept up the record of finishing, so well done. But for those who maybe haven't met you before and haven't listened to, over the last year, could you just tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Lesley. I'm going to be 49 in a couple of weeks' time, giving away my age there. I live in Kynaston in Renfrewshire. I've been running for many years. Always enjoyed sport and outdoorsy things, skiing, cycling, kayaking, whatever. I'm married with 2 kids, Ewan's 19 and Jenny's 16. I'm based through in Falkirk. I work for a company who design and fit out commercial offices, so there's a bit of interior design and sales involved. But deep down my passion is sports. And I just love any spare minute you'll see me outside running or cycling or just generally being out. I can't seem to sit still for very long. So
and certainly if you have people following you on Facebook, all your photos are full of being out on the hills and on the sea and
that's
kayaking, and it's great. Now, congratulations are in order, aren't they?
Well, yes,
because this last weekend you've qualified as a Swedish massage. So tell us a little bit about that and what attracted you to doing that.
Well, as I say, I have always loved sports, and over the years I've had a few of the typical runners injuries, Achilles injuries, calf injuries and so on, and I kind of went through a bit of a rough spell with my day job, as I call it, sort of being a bit bogged down with the industry and the corporate world and so on, and I started to look at career changes, and I looked at physiotherapy but didn't particularly want to go back to uni for 4 years. And then I was having a sports massage done, chatting to the girl who was doing it. This was about 1.5 years ago, and I just found it absolutely fascinating that when she put pressure in certain areas, I could feel things happening in my foot or in my shoulder, and the other sort of main impact as well was after the fling last year. Just as soon as I finished, I was sort of struggling with walking properly, as you do. And I went and had a massage within about 45 minutes of finishing, and just the difference it made in my mobility and my recovery, I reckon, was just incredible. So I just started to think, well, if I can't do or don't want to do physiotherapy and spend that time going back to studying, then this is for me the next best thing, and probably better actually than physiotherapy, because it's very, very sports orientated. So I have been studying through the Western School based up at Caledonian Uni, and it was a 9-month course. So the initial course is a diploma in Swedish massage therapy, which is soft tissue massage. There's an awful lot of theory to it. You need to know about all your muscles, insertions, origins, actions, body systems, just a huge amount of stuff that I have never ever looked at in my life. So it's been a big learning curve.
It's like being back in school.
It is. Well, yeah, back at college. So, and also there's the practical side as well. There are case studies that you have to do. So it was our final exam on Saturday there, and I passed.
Well done.
So I'm chuffed a bit. And I then go on to start the sports and remedial course in October. So this time next year I'll be hopefully a qualified sports and remedial massage therapist. So.
Excellent. Well, I must say we were part of your guinea pigs.
We were,
you needed some volunteers, didn't you? And Katrina and myself, I think we did 3 Thursdays, didn't we? And it was great. So
there was a long line of volunteers, to be honest.
I could imagine.
So I almost had to run a ballot.
So
I just hope that people still come back.
That's right. Now
in the
now
interim.
You charge them.
Exactly. So, and shameless plug there, but
no, it's fine. So if you want someone to help, then Lesley's your person. Great.
Post-race or pre-race, doesn't matter.
Excellent. And I hope that goes well. And would the long-term aim then to do that full-time? Is that what you'd like to do?
I would like to think so. I hope my employer isn't listening to this. But I'm kind of hoping that this will kind of overtake my day job, and I can either just quit completely, I really hope they aren't listening, or I can kind of wind down that side. But yes, I still want to change.
Excellent. Well,
never too old to change.
No, definitely, and we'll see how that all goes. So let's think about the running again then. So just tell us what attracted you to running, and maybe ultra running in particular.
Well, as I say, I've always run, always been sporty. At school I was so determined to run a marathon, and I was too young, so in 1987 I think it was, I ran the Glasgow Marathon. I'd only just turned 18, and I just kept sport going, running going. Had a bit of a break when the kids came along, but it was just easier once I was able to just chuck on a pair of running shoes and get out and start again. Did loads of road running, got a bit fed up with road running, a bit bored, a bit fed up with all the sort of mass events, the jostling and so on. It was you actually that said I think I'd be quite good at ultra running, and just because I love being outdoors, it just all kind of clicked, and I enjoy running in the trails and just getting away from.
I think if you enjoy running and you enjoy being in the countryside, ultra running's great, isn't it? Because it means you cover more ground as well, don't you? So if you go out for a walk, you might cover 8, 10, 12 miles, whereas you can go for a run that same time and cover twice the distance, can't you?
Well, walking's too slow. I'm just too impatient. I couldn't actually now, I don't think I could walk the West Highland Way. I'd rather run it. And it's taken me to some parts of Scotland that I wouldn't otherwise have seen, so it's a win-win situation.
And met lots of good friends.
And met lots of good people and friends. And
also Callum's done the race as well, isn't he?
Callum has in 2014. So, and I think one year he will make a comeback as well. So there's things that are brewing in the McKerral household.
Definitely, and then you'll have Ewan as well at some point, I'm sure. Well,
Ewan's a super fast runner, but he will, I'm sure, one day take to the trails as well, and probably.
But Jenny,
does
she run much?
She doesn't do so much now. She's kind of got a bit fed up with it.
She'll come back to it.
I'm sure she will.
Excellent. So let's think a little bit about the West Highland Way then. I would imagine that's always on the horizon, was it, for you? For a number of years actually, probably for about 5 years. It was always first of all, for the first few years it was could I do this? Couldn't I do it? Do I want to do it? Do I want to put myself through it? But then I think the urge to do it just got more and more, and then it just became my main focus. That's what I really, really wanted. Because there was one year you supported Callum, didn't you, in his race, and then you were on my team one year as well, weren't you? So you've seen the race from that side, and it didn't put you off.
No, it didn't put me off at all. Probably quite the opposite, in fact. So.
And I think when you go something like the prize giving and you see that atmosphere, you want to be part of it, don't you? Certainly. So I remember last year when we met regularly, obviously I had quite an insight into your training, and you really planned it out and you'd thought it through. You had a number of key races, I remember, that was leading up to it. So just tell us just a little bit about how you felt your training went in the build up to the race.
Well, my training really went very well overall. I think I said way back that my main sort of, not problem, but it's been consistent with training. I kind of dip in out and I dip out again. But I knew that if I was going to feel as comfortable as you could doing this race, I would really have to put the hours in. So it was probably about over 6 months of dedicated training, but also not just physical training, but also mental preparation as well. And the fact that I really, really wanted to do it, in my mind, I was finishing. Nothing. Well, I was going to finish that race in Fort William. So my training went well. I really didn't pick up any injuries. I mixed my training up a wee bit, started to do a bit more sort of strength work, as well as putting the miles in as well, to mix it up, because I kind of find sometimes when I've been training for marathons I get bored. Just you know, running and running and running. And also I think that doesn't help with injuries. So I was quite keen just to mix it up a wee bit and basically make sure that I got to Milngavie without any problems.
I remember there was a couple of times when you had sort of colds, didn't you, that meant you missed a few sessions, but again you seem to be quite sensible in that if you missed a few you didn't try and catch up, you just sort of moved on from that, didn't you?
I just kind of took the view that you know, these things happen, and if you take a sort of 6-month period, if you do the work, then missing 1 or 2 runs really isn't going to affect it at all. It's only once you start missing runs regularly that, you know, things could go pear-shaped. And also I saw absolutely no point in trying to run if I was a bit under the weather. I don't think that would have done any good. So and I think one of the other things I was really impressed with was the way that you gave yourself some key races, partly sort of for company and you know, aiming sort of intermediate goals. So you did the fling, which we'll mention, but there was that race where you did 2 loops. What was that one? That was Glentress.
Glentress
Marathon.
And the thing that really impressed me with that, Lesley, it was very much a mental challenge, because loads of people were going to do the marathon, but stopped after the half marathon halfway around. But you and a few others, you ploughed on, didn't you?
Yes.
And I think as much mentally as physically that helped.
I kind of, I chose these races just, and I didn't look on them as races, but just as another sort of step in my progress. And it was tough, and actually I did return to Glentress this year.
Oh, did you?
But just for the half marathon.
But it was always
only
just
did one loop.
Yeah,
the weather was completely different. It was an absolutely glorious day this year.
Right.
So it was just, they were just milestones for me, really, in the overall picture. Each run is tough. There's no getting away from that. Even if you go out and do a 6-mile run at times, it can be quite tough. But just as part of the sort of mental preparation, I think that kind of toughened me up a wee bit. And it was just a case of get your head down, get on with it. Yeah,
and that's what you need, don't you, in these things. I think if you in a run like that, things aren't going so well, I'll just do the half marathon. Then it does play on your mind as well, doesn't it? That if you quit on that one, then will you quit on the full race? So
I didn't want to shortchange myself.
No, definitely. And you had
the
podcast to talk, didn't you? You couldn't come back and say, well, I stopped halfway.
I know, that wouldn't do. Public shaming.
I know. Okay, so was that before the fling then?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was February, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So there'll be a number of people hopefully listening to this who've done the fling and are also now hopefully working towards the West Highland Way. So just tell us, what was your plan for the fling? Did you plan to race it, or did you plan to very much to run it at West Highland Way pace, or as a big training run?
I really just planned to run it as a training run, and it for me, I wanted it to give me a gauge of where my fitness was. I did it in 2012, so I was looking to kind of compare the run last year to the one in 2012. It was never about racing it, because I don't really go out and race. I just sort of get the things done and you know, sort of, I suppose, compete within myself, but not with anybody else. And actually, when I did the fling, I had an absolutely brilliant run, and knocked a lot of time off, you know, the 2012 race that I did. So it was a huge confidence boost, because I felt comfortable even in the latter stages of the fling. I still felt strong, and so for me that was a big tick in the training box. And then as well, obviously we're in that point now between the two races. So what did you do in your training, recovery wise, and then building up to the race between the fling and the West Highland Way? Yeah, well, I think actually in hindsight, I think I struggled a wee bit. I think there was it about 6 weeks between the two?
It was 8.
8 weeks, right. So I wanted to make sure that I recovered fully from the fling. So actually I think I only did another 30-miler in between the two. But my motivation fell away a bit. I think because I just thought, right, I've reached this major milestone, and you know, and I just found it quite difficult to pick myself back up again and really keep going full force. It was kind of a bit of a no man's land, you know, because you're wanting to recover, but at the same time you want to keep the momentum going and to keep pushing the training. And then what, about 3 weeks before the West Highland Way, you then start your taper again, so it's a bit of a funny time scale. But I mean, in the end it was fine. My main thing was not to pick up any injuries, and also to recover and you know, be as untired, if that is such a word, for the start of the
Okay, so in hindsight then, what advice would you give to someone who has had a good fling or a struggle on the fling and then is now planning on the West Highland Way?
Stick at it.
Stick at it.
Definitely. Yeah. If you've got a plan, stick to the plan. Don't think, oh well, you know, I've done the fling, that's good, had a really good run. Oh, you know, I'll maybe not go out tonight. Just be determined, because there's still a bit of work to be done. There's, I mean, whether you can make an improvement in that short space of time with all the training that I had done, I'm not so sure. Maybe at an elite level or whatever, but I'm just out there and get on with it.
So in that gap, did you race at all? Did you have any other races between?
No, I don't think I did actually.
No.
And that, you know, maybe again I should have selected a race to do in between, because that would have been another milestone training goal.
I think it's not too long, maybe.
You
know, I know a number of people might be doing the Kynaston, which I've always felt, I did that 1 year and I felt it was too close for me. I know other people are quite happy to do the Kynaston, and then 4 weeks later it'll be the West Highland Way. I always preferred to do a big weekend on the course as my last big weekend, but not a race, because I find as soon as I get a number on, you know, you're in a different mentality. Whereas if you can just go out and have a 2-day run on the West Highland Way, you get the miles, but you're bound to run it easier because it's not a race.
Well, I think mileage wise as well, if I'd chosen a 50-mile race after the fling, I don't think that would have been very sensible.
No, not at all.
So it was just a case of keep bubbling along, keep you know, ticking over. And
but I think that comment you made there about just keeping the focus, if some, you know, I would advise people had certain things they want to do, so if they have a 2-week recovery and then a full week of training and then 2 or 3 weeks of taper, but during that 4 weeks, you know, give themselves some little goals. So whether it's a run, wherever it is, so that you just got an intermediate, because it is, as you say, 8 weeks is a long way, isn't it, between the two. So just to keep the focus there. And don't sort of sicken yourself of running either, because I think that was another thing that came in to play with me, that I just kind of thought, oh, you know, I have to go out for another 30 miler this weekend. You know, I sort of felt that I'd put all the hard work in, and maybe it was a bit of an anticlimax in between. So just, you know, mix it up, vary it, go out with other people, just do anything to try and get yourself out there. Now, before the race, the main race, the West Highland Way, did you have a time goal? I'm sure we talked about it, didn't we?
Well, it sort of varied. Actually, it started off with I just want to finish, and then 30 hours would do me quite nicely, and then I thought I could possibly get under 28 or 29, I think, and then I ended up.
Well, it's interesting because your fling time was 12 hours 32:51. And if you multiply that by 2.2, which I reckon 2.1, 2.2, I remember doing it 1 year, it's like an average, and that would give you 27 hours 36. And you ran it in 27:23.
Right, okay.
So that's
pretty good.
Yeah, I was quite impressed with that.
So was I.
My formula worked there. But that just shows you, because that fling, I think, gave you a lot of confidence. Because remember when we were talking about it, you know, you were aiming for 30 hours or finish 30 hours, and then after the fling, I think your horizon did extend a bit. And you thought, well, maybe I am capable, and I've given myself 4 or 5 months of training for this. Why not go for it? And given the weather conditions last year weren't easy, so I reckon it's you know, it's worth it. That was a great time.
Well, it's definitely planted the seed of, if or when I do it again, I could go faster.
Okay, so let's think about the race then. So you'd had a great fling, you kept your focus most of the time, and then you're on the start lines. So how did it go? What was as you look back on almost a year ago now, but what are the main thoughts that are there?
Well, I still feel that everything just fell into place in the day. I can't say that there was nothing that went wrong, or I could have done better, or my team could have done better. I actually felt very calm. I didn't think, oh no, I've got 95 miles to run. I broke it down. Although in saying that, I got to Ochtertyre and I did have a cry, because I thought, how am I going to do another 45 miles? And Callum just sort of chucked me out and said, don't think of it like that, get to Bridge of Orchy. So just breaking it down into chunks really helped. I tried to rest as much as I could on the Friday beforehand. I couldn't sleep, so although I did have a couple of hours in the van in the car park in Milgai. But yeah, I just felt quite sort of chilled out about it, and you know, I just sort of started with, I'll see how I go, and just take it as it comes, really. Because I think with that sort of distance, I think no matter how much training you do, you don't know what's going to happen in the day, how you're going to feel, what influences there may be, weather, you could have a dodgy stomach or whatever. But it just all went very smoothly. It's funny, Lesley, I saw you a few times, didn't I, between the start and Balmoral, because you know, my ankle was sore, and we sort of to and froed a bit and saw each other. And you looked so in control, you looked well within yourself, you weren't pushing the pace at all, and you looked quite comfortable from that first 20 odd miles to Balmoral. I saw you a few times. Well, when I saw you, I thought, I shouldn't be seeing John. But that's another story. But yeah, I just took it really easily. I didn't want to get caught up in running with anybody in particular. I just wanted to do my own thing. I felt a bit ropey from the start to Balmaha, but I think that was perhaps just because you're starting off at 1 in the morning and my system was just all out of sync. So I was there was a slight concern from that starting point, but then after Balmaha I felt fine. I remember as I went through the roller coaster forest towards Tyndrum, I got into a bit of a flap because I thought I'm just going much slower than my fling time, and my head dip went down a bit. But then the second half of the race I was passing people, so you know, that paid off. So I didn't go out too fast. I just took it steady, took it at my own pace, and really tried to concentrate on easing back a bit rather than pushing. Because it's such a long way to go. So just that's the way I approached it. No, and it certainly worked. I think one of the things I was interested on was in the training tips that James Stewart has done in this year. He talked about one of them about sort of what if, about before the race, thinking about things that might happen. And I think last year one of the big things that happened was the weather. You know, it was really wet. So did you have a what if, in the sense, did you plan that? Did you think about how you were going to deal with bad weather? Well, kit wise, I just put every bit of clothing in the van to cover all seasons. And you used most of it. Going out of Glencoe, I had everything on. You know, I was set for a day in the hills, really. And then within about a mile I was like sweating buckets and thinking, too hot now. But that had been very, very cold. I'd really chilled down going into Glencoe. So yeah, just really prepare and pack for every weather eventuality that's going to be thrown at you, because you don't know what's going to be. Up until was it Bridge of Orchy? Up until Bridge of Orchy it was fine. You know, it was a really nice day and it was quite sunny, and then after Bridge of Orchy it just turned big time. And food wise as well, you don't know what you're going to fancy, really. I had a sort of set idea of what I wanted. I think eventually I just kind of shoved food in my mouth for the sake of it, really not wanting it. I had a few stomach issues from Bridge of Orchy onwards, but I think you just have to accept that if you're in that situation, you're in that situation. You know, you can't really do much about it because there aren't toilets along the way. You know, if you gotta go, you gotta go. You know, and go as well. It might sound really disgusting, but don't run miles needing the toilet.
Yeah,
it's easier for blokes.
I know.
You know, women have to do it as well.
That's right. I was going to say, I remember being at Kynaston, so because once I'd stopped, we sort of followed the race, and we went to Kynaston, and I was just so impressed when you came in, because the weather was terrible, but you came in, you were very focused. Your team got dry clothes on, and you spent a bit of time there. I can't remember how long, but you spent a bit of time getting some food and getting a complete change with some new waterproofs on. I don't know whether you changed your shoes or not. I can't remember.
No, I wore the same shoes the whole way.
But you were definitely getting yourself ready for that last 14 miles. And I just thought, you're going to finish. You were just so determined. I think we talked a bit, and you said, I'm going to get this done. And it was okay. It was going to be tough, but you knew you had it in you, and you did.
I didn't have any doubts at all. I was just in a completely focused mindset. And it was just a case of, right, get sorted out and get back out there. Because the more you faff about, and, you know, the time just ticks away as well.
But what I was impressed with, though, is that you did take the time to get yourself sorted. You weren't rushing in and out. You knew that was the last indoor checkpoint, and so it was now or never to get the stuff on you needed, and you did. Which meant that when you left, you didn't have to stop again, did you?
No, not at all. Well, I mean, you're going out into very remote country, so I had again probably full winter gear on, to be honest.
Middle of summer.
I know, in the middle of summer. And it was horrendous out there, and I knew I had to get some food inside me as well. I mean, certainly by that point, the last thing you really want to do is to eat, but I just kind of had a bit of this and a bit of that, and whatever went down easiest would do.
And on that last section, who ran with you?
Callum.
Okay, so that was special as well, wasn't it, to finish that together? And and he's been there before, and I think when you've got your husband in that situation, it's great because they know you so well, don't they? So you don't have to chat, but you can, and you just support each other.
It wasn't a great conversation going on.
I'm
it was
sure,
more sort of him talking to me and me grunting in reply as we waded through the rivers that used to be paths. Honestly, it was ankle deep.
Wow.
And he was really good. He's obviously very experienced in the outdoors as well, so I had complete confidence in him that if there was anything, any emergency or incident or whatever, then I'd be well looked after.
See, that's great, isn't it? Because it means you don't have to waste energy thinking about what would I do if this happened. You could just trust Callum to help you, couldn't you? And so I think support teams in that situation really come into their own, don't they?
I certainly think for people like me who know that I knew that I was going to be out for the 2 nights, and I would definitely want to have folk with me, and I chose folk that had this experience. I would definitely want folk to have this sort of medical, the savvy, the outdoor savvy, to know what to do if anything happened. Because I say it's so remote, and very quickly things can go wrong.
So if you finish in 27.5 hours, you'd be finishing in light, wouldn't you? Just about. You'd have gone through the dark. And
it was just starting.
It was just starting to get light.
Yeah, that's right.
So what was
You're making me want to do it.
I know. That's right.
When does the entry open?
So how did it feel then? That last little bit coming down. You know, when you hit the top and you've got the forest road, then the road into Fort William.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, it seemed to go on forever. Even from Lindavra, I was still passing people.
Right.
And Callum, he was saying to me, keep going, you know, you could get under 27 hours. Whereas in my head I thought, stuff this. Oh, there's a wasp. I just want to finish. And it was hard running along the road, and sore running along the road, believe it or not. But there's something that just kind of kicks in, that gives you an extra oomph that you thought had long gone. It's
funny, isn't it? I think it's the brain, isn't it? They talk about the central governor, don't they? Almost when you know the end's in sight, then all the brakes come off, and it just the body allows you, or your mind allows you just to find something, isn't it? It's incredible.
And it was just the support as well of everybody along the way, and it just gives you such a boost. Just a rush of adrenaline, really.
And what about the prize giving? Was that all that you wanted it to be, expected it to be?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I think that's something which I think for people doing it for the first time, it's worth having that in mind, isn't it? In those low moments when you are struggling, just to try and picture that being in that prize giving and getting your goblets and all that hard work pays, is paid off.
Yeah, and just make sure you get there early so you get a seat.
Right. Okay.
And like us.
Yeah. Are you standing?
And don't.
Oh no.
And don't go via McDonald's either, because there was food at the end which I would rather have had.
Right.
The soup
yes, that's what it was. Yeah.
So we made the mistake of going to McDonald's thinking there wouldn't be anything, and knowing that we had to refuel. So make sure you get there early.
Okay. I think the people who sit at the very back, and when they're called and they've got to come all the way down the steps, whereas I suppose you get a longer applause, but
that's true.
But
that's true.
If your legs are sore, then it's better to be closer to the front.
But actually, I felt really fresh, and I'd had maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours sleep by the time we got to the campsite. Sort of all settled and so on. But I felt fine. It was amazing, actually, that I didn't. Okay, I knew I'd done something, but I wasn't out.
But again, I think that's because you paced it well and you prepared well. I think the times when you're really broken is when you haven't prepared so well, and maybe you've had a race which you've gone off too fast, and then you've sort of really gone into the empty. Whereas I think you prepared well and paced it well. And then you finished, obviously not much left, but but not broken. Which makes recovery, I think, a bit easier. So well done. That was good.
Yes.
So as you think about, obviously you just said there you'd like to do it again.
Well, that's just sort of happened.
But I know you're away this summer, aren't you? On holiday, is that right?
Yeah, we're going to Australia on the 21st of June.
Okay.
And that was kind of deliberate, actually.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
Right. So you wouldn't be tempted. But then, is it in the pipeline for next year or coming years?
I think realistically I won't do it next year because of the sport and remedial course. I think it'll just be too much. So I think it'll be the following year. So that's what, 2020.
That's got a nice ring to it, isn't it?
It has. 2020. But I definitely will do it again.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure Callum will as well.
Yes.
Would you do it the same year?
No.
No, you'd like to support each other.
I think it's too much. Because we need to help each other out. So even in the training, Callum was a good support for me, because I remember, I think it was that last 30-mile run I did between the Fling and the West Highland whwwrace, and I really wasn't. It was one of these hard ones. I wasn't into it at all, and I fell as well. So it was all kind of, do I need to do this? But Callum drove out and got the van fixed up with soup and biscuits and so on. So even sort of on the road support for the training.
He's a good guy.
He's an all right. Yes, all right.
He's a keeper.
Yes.
So, what have you got plans for this year then? I know you've not been doing quite so much running, have you? But
no, I've had again, both my Achilles have been playing up, so it's been a bit stuttery. Right. I've certainly not done big miles at all. I've just been enjoying my running, actually, and going out doing short trail runs, road runs. I've been doing a bit of cycling as well.
Nice.
But I've got the Devil in August.
Oh, great.
So I actually need to get my finger out and get some big training runs in, because I haven't really so far. And then Callum's doing that one as well, and we're both doing Tyree in September. Okay. So that's the plan at the moment.
Good. So I was just thinking as well, Lesley, I know you've mentioned a few things there, and there's different lessons that you've sort of shared and learned, but are there any particular things that you'd like to share with people who, I say, have done the Fling or haven't done the Fling, but are leading up to the West Highland Way now, based on your experience from last year? Is there anything in particular that you'd want to share with people?
I think the most important thing is to make sure that you get to the start line fit and healthy. Don't bust your gut between now and then. Because you've done the hard work so far, so just and chill out about it as well. We're all there because we want to be there, and nobody's forcing us to do it. So just look upon it as a couple of days out with nice people, or a day out, whatever your speed is. Just one step in front of the other, and getting to Fort William. and relax and enjoy it. I mean, I enjoyed it.
I know.
People say to me, how can you enjoy that? But I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
I loved every minute of it. Apart from when I burst into tears at Ottertyre and at Glencoe because it was so awful, the weather. But, you know, get good support as well. Get a good support team. Make sure that they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Have all that planned, ready. There is a lot of planning for the support team. And actually, one of the things that Callum had said that he probably wouldn't do again, he was doing a lot of the driving, as well as getting to Fort William to get the tent set up, to then get back to Kinlochleven to meet me. And he didn't tell me this till afterwards, but he arrived at Kinlochleven not too long before I actually came in, and he was in panic mode. So maybe get a dedicated driver or two aside from the support runners.
So because he's up for 2 nights as well, isn't he?
And he was feeling it as well. So you know, try and keep that in mind. That, you know, prepare, get the support crew prepared. Because it is a big ask, and it's a lot for people, especially when you're driving. You know, driving tired, and there's a lot of cars on the road, and a whole load of things to take into account.
No, I'm more convinced, Lesley, that if you're enjoying something, you're going to do it better, aren't you? You know, and I think having followed your progress last year, you know, it was a commitment that you made, but it was one that you were enjoying. And, you know, I'm sure not every single run, but you had that overall sense of, I'm doing this because I want to, and I'm rising to the challenge. And I think that came out in your race so well. I think you know, I know some people talk about you have a plan and then it never works out, but I would say yours did. You know, you had a clear plan, you'd thought about it, and you executed it. And you got the result from it. And you know, I think particularly, you know, given the conditions last year, that was even more commendable, I think. So
I think as well with the training plan, don't overestimate what you really can do. You know, because I sort of set out initially thinking that I could do 5 runs a week, and I actually struggled with that, just time wise. Work, family, everything gets in the way. So I think I ended up doing mainly 4 runs a week, and at first I was getting a bit sort of het up that you know, that wasn't going to be enough, but actually it was. So you just need to kind of do what suits you and what fits in with your life.
And I think that's part of maybe the problem these days with so much on Strava and Facebook, and it's easy to look at what others are doing and get sort of caught up with that. Oh, I've only done this, and you do have to just trust your own training, don't you? As you said, I think some people have got more time than others, and they haven't got the same commitments, so you can't really compare yourself with someone who's got, you know, is only working 3 days or has not got as many other commitments.
And believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, because I believed in myself. I believed that I could do it. And if you do that, then you're part of the way there. Definitely. Well, congratulations. Thank you. And thank you very much, and congratulations again on your Swedish massage therapy. Yes, thank you. We look forward to seeing how that goes. And all the best for 2018. Thank you very much. Okay. Thanks. Thank you.